All right, you hear me. Cool. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. No big agenda today, other than asking questions that you have to solve your travel needs. Other than people that stumble across this by mistake, this is just for our paying subscribers. So, and I'm hoping to just help meet your travel goals however we can. So, people are saying they can't hear anything. Let me just do a sound check. Can anyone else? Oh, other people say they hear. So if you can't hear me, check your volume settings. All right. So I see a couple people in the waiting room. Mary Kay and Shauna, hi. I will get to you. I know a couple other people had some questions first. I'm going to try to get to these things kind of first come, first serve. But Mary Kay, I'll rotate you in. And Shauna, I'll get to your question as well. But let's start with the people who chimed in with some travel questions yesterday, since I did promise I'd kind of try to do this first come, first serve. Okay, Susan, this is a member question. How can we see travel deals from a nearby airport other than our home city? For example, we flew to Lima from Dallas, but this flight isn't available from Houston. For the money we saved, it was worth driving a few hours in airport parking. Definitely agree with you. So again, this site is dedicated to not just saving a few bucks, but like travel so cheap it doesn't affect the budget. So always keep an eye on the airport closest to you. Right now, you can't go and auto add other territories, but if you want to keep your eye on another airport, just reply to any member email that you receive from us, and we can get you manually added to a second territory and watch for those flights as well. So this works for people who are between two major airports. It also works for something called positioning flights. A positioning flight is something that is done. We actually just did this a few months ago to go to Bali. We wanted to fly business class to Bali. Finding business class flights from Bali or to Bali from Denver was very, very difficult, but it was a piece of cake from the coasts. So you can do this as well, whereas if you are a big fan of Asia, you can watch from LA, from San Francisco, from Seattle. And then if you ever find a cheap fare from there, you can just grab that flight, and you can usually get yourself to those airports pretty cheap. Of course, you have to factor in the cost of getting yourself to those airports. But if you follow rule number 3 of the JGOOT way of travel, which is always have a backup plan, always have a stash of points to use in case of emergencies, that's usually a piece of cake. So for example, we did that. We were able to use points to fly to Asia in business class. It was about $20,000 worth of flights that we booked for about $100 on points. We had to get ourselves to Washington, D.C., and that also, we used points, it cost us 11 bucks. So hopefully that was kind of a 2-part answer that will help you out, Susan. Feel free to reply, and I'll see if I can get back to that later if that wasn't clear enough. Scott Vanarek. And after this, I'll get to the large number of people who are in the car. Carlin, I see that you're waiting to get on a question, but I also see that you're driving. You're going to have to confirm with me that you're not driving and you're in the passenger seat. Otherwise, please hang up. There is a replay available. Don't want to be responsible for anybody calling me while driving. Okay, Scott, looking for a Mexican all-inclusive deals during spring break for 4 people, 2 adults, 2 kids, flexible with location. Yay, rule number 1 of the JGOOT way of travel. As long as it's a beach. Looking at 4 to 7 days, also flexible. Great way to get the best savings possible. You want flights, hotels, and meals to be included. So this is going to be a completely different answer than a travel agent might give. And you know what? Let me share my screen real quick. How do I do that? Gosh, it's been a while since I've done this, and I might not be able to share my screen. Let's share. Maybe I can't share because of the live. So anyway, I've got a blog post that covers this. I'll add a link, but I believe in something called the triangle of travel. This is a fancier way of talking about my 3 rules of JGOOT. So Scott, to answer your question, rule number 1, look early and often. You're talking about spring break, which is about 2 months from now, so it's a little late for looking early, but it's not too late. Watch your trip alerts every day. You say Mexican all-inclusive, that'll give you 6 or 8 different options that we have. The first priority when it comes to saving as much as possible is to find the cheapest flight possible. We typically don't publish Mexico flights unless they're well under 500. Sometimes they're in the 200s, depending on where you're flying from. Occasionally even under that. But the key is watch those alerts every day. We find Mexico and Caribbean, which also have all-inclusive options. And the key there is if you can find say a $250 flight for 4 people that during spring break is normally going to be a $1,000 flight, that's a $3,000 savings right there. So the key, watch every day. I'd say watch for Mexico and Caribbean. Just about all of the all-inclusive resorts are beachfront, and they've got your kayaking, your snorkeling, all of your typical activities. So you can get anywhere you want to go for easily in the $200, $300, $400 per person range. When you find a flight that works with your schedule, speaking of which, you can always adjust dates. So just because we send you something that's maybe the 2nd week of March and you're looking for the 3rd week of March, you can always tinker with those dates and usually find something that's close. And then when you find something that works with your schedule, go ahead and look at what it costs to add on a resort. We're sending you to Kayak, Travelocity, Expedia, and once you find that cheap flight, you can just click over on packages and buy the flight and the resort at the same time. And you can even set your filters on Kayak or Travelocity or whatever for all-inclusives only. So again, priority 1, we are not a travel agency. We don't buy bundle deals. We just tell you about cheap flights because that's the best way to save overall. So Scott, I hope that answered your question. Comment below and I'll try to get to you. No promises though, because it looks pretty busy. Let's see. Mary Kay, are you ready? Can you give me a thumbs up? Shauna, you're on deck. Mary, I'm gonna bring you on. Oh, Mary's not ready.
You can bring me on.
Okay. Hi, Mary Kay.
Hi.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from San Diego.
Cool.
And we're planning a trip to Cancun, Mexico. I got a 5-day deal on Black Friday. And now I'm learning that it's cheaper to fly Tijuana to Cancun. So
yeah, and I mean, if you're that's going to be relevant for only you or maybe someone else in LA, because that's a quick, easy drive. When you don't have to cross an international border, you can save a ton. Unfortunately, we don't watch fares out of Tijuana, although that might be a good idea. We might start doing that. But here's a workaround. So you've got a package deal on the resort, but you're still looking for a flight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a blog post about this, and I'll see if I can do this without screen sharing, which I don't seem to be able to do. But there's a website called Airfare Watchdog.
Okay.
And what I tell people all the time is, again, rule number 1, watch early, watch often. And especially when you're narrowed down to a specific place, which you are. So go to Airfare Watchdog, you enter the home airport of both San Diego and Tijuana, and just start watching fares daily to Cancun. Flight prices fluctuate daily. 19 out of 20 times, those are going to be expensive flights. You just learn to ignore those, and you just be patient and you wait. Now, when are you aiming to go on this trip?
August 3rd. August 3rd?
Okay, so plenty of time. Yeah, watch early, watch often. That should be enough to get you. I mean, from Tijuana, you can probably get under $200 flights. Yeah. And I would just say watch early, watch often. It's that simple. And then just be patient and wait for something that's a minimum of 50% below what most people would pay. And, you know, since you're watching so early, I would be even pickier and aim for 75 or 80% less than what most people pay. But the second that hits under $200, grab it and go. Of course, you have to align that, make sure there's availability with the package that you bought. But that's going to happen no matter what you do.
Okay.
I have another thought, like along the lines of a backup plan. But I'm sure we will get to it with someone else, and I've got a lot of questions that I'd like to get answered. So stay tuned and listen for the keywords backup plan. That's what I always recommend to do. If, like in Scott's case, you've only got 2 months to go, you want to have a backup in place so that you can go, you know, you have the option of still getting there affordably if you don't find those cheap flights. But considering you're 8 months out, you got plenty of time. Just sign up, go to Airfare Watchdog right now and sign up, and you'll find something soon.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
No.
All right, Shauna, are you ready?
Hello.
Hi, Shauna, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
My question is primarily around like points and acquisition. I'm really new to the whole credit card game. So I signed up for the Chase Sapphire Preferred because it had the better sign-up bonus. And now I have the AMEX Platinum. And I guess my question is, like, do you actually use any of these cards to do your everyday spend, or do you just work toward a card, get the bonus, and then move on to the next?
That's a very good question. And Mary Kay, we're going to now talk about that backup plan. It depends on what you're doing. A lot of people resist the idea of credit card point hacking because they say, oh, I don't want to change my checking account and I don't want to, you know, go through that big hassle. Well, that's perfectly fine. You have your go-to cards, which our personal family card is the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which is similar to yours. It's the premium version. Yours is the other version.
Yeah, I heard they're increasing the price of that yearly for $100. I already had the Capital One Venture, so I was like, I'll just have the preferred instead.
Right. Yeah, and I think that decision is perfectly fine if you're kind of gonna to just churn and burn that card. Just get it, use it for your gas and your groceries and the things that don't necessarily require you to change accounts. You know, like you've probably got a go-to credit card that you pay certain bills with, and they just get auto charged and so on. So typically, you'd leave those alone. You don't change those around, because that's where things get ugly. Things get messed up with bill pay and all that stuff. So leave your go-to card just as it is, and then go buy your gas and your groceries and your movies and everything else with your cards that you use for sign-up bonuses. So that's probably priority one is, don't make drastic changes. Just get the card, do the minimum spend, and if you need to, there are always creative ways of doing that. But typically, you should be able to meet that minimum spend by just every time you swipe that card, just keep swiping it wherever you go until you meet your minimum. Collect your sign-up bonus and put it on a shelf.
Okay, so that is like what you've done in the past.
Correct.
Okay.
And then those are your churn and burn points. You collect that sign-up bonus, you spend the money, and then you throw it in a drawer.
Yeah. And then my other question is, when you do that, you end up with like a bunch of accounts with a bunch of points all across. Like, what's the best consolidation plan so that there's like one place where you have all of the points. Because right now I've got like Alaska, and then I have Chase, and then I have now, Amex, I have Marriott.
Okay, so that's a very good question, and that I kind of cover in the quick start guide in the member area of our Facebook group. I also go into a lot more detail that may or may not be necessary depending on how hardcore you want to be with this in the comprehensive guide. But my personal, and I'm by no means an expert on this. There are plenty of guys. The Points Guy, Award Travel 101, these guys revolve their lives around point travel. My thing is I'm intentionally, this group is named Point Hacking 101 because I don't believe in having binders full of credit cards. I don't believe in turning your life upside down to do this. I strictly use points as a backup plan when I can't find a JGOOT deal. And the whole point of our JGOOT subscription is to find trips that are so cheap that you don't need hundreds of thousands of miles. So you find your $30 round trip flights to your best friend's hometown, and you pay cash for that. You don't waste your points. So that's key number one, is have a good balance of cheap trips when you can and use points when you can't find a cheap trip. With that said, I typically try to max out everything I can in the Chase family. Chase has 15 or 20 travel credit cards. 4 or 5 of those all go into the Ultimate Rewards program. And that's one big pool of points that you can use through their travel portal, or you can transfer that to other transfer partners, and so on. So I think that would be the biggest thing. And you're kind of like, I cover this in the comprehensive guide. You're doing what we've all done, and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to get overwhelmed. I don't want to have to sign up for all these different cards and so on. So the key is just get what you need and do it not based on like, oh, Marriott has a $100,000 sign up bonus. Okay, that's great if you have travel plans in the near future where you want to use hotel points. Otherwise, if you're just signing up based on the point value, you're going to have a bunch of different cards and a bunch of different accounts to juggle. If you sign up saying, I'm going to max out all the points I can with Chase, I'm going to have this big bundle of tons of miles to use however I want. After I max that out, I'm going to move on to Amex and max those points out. That way you have a nice convenient bundle of points that can be used however, whenever you want.
Well, Amex, they get upset with you, right? If you like open a card and then you cancel them. But I heard that Chase, there's still like a grace period where if you open a bunch, you can kind of close them out, revisit like a year later. That's what I've heard.
Correct. And I've never had to resort to that. There are people that will do that. They'll open a card, they'll spend the minimum, they'll use their points, they'll close out the card, and then they'll go recycle that card 2 years later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a churning strategy. And again, I haven't had to resort to that yet. There are plenty of points out there. And again, when you don't dedicate your whole life to traveling for 2 cents on the dollar, which you could do on points, you have a good balance, and you don't just blow through points like no one's business.
Yeah.
So that's why you open those trip alerts every day, because every once in a while you say, hey, we were going to take a vacation this summer. We were planning on paying $700 a person. Joel just sent us a flight for $250. Let's see if we can make that work. Then you save your points, and you get a flight at $250 that's actually a better deal than wasting 50,000 points.
And last question, in your experience, is using points better like during the holidays or outside of the holidays in terms of value? Like,
so I don't ever think about season, shoulder season, or whatever. Everything I do is, can I find a good deal on cash so that I save those so valuable points? And if I can find a good deal for cash, I will pay cash. If I can't find a good deal, well, that's where I resort to points. And it's still a balance. I mean, my wife and I just did this for her for a girls' trip, and I was gritting my teeth going, okay, it's a $400 flight, or it's 40,000 points. Do I really want to waste 40,000 points? Because to me, I like points for like ultra emergencies or flying business class instead of first class, or I mean, instead of coach, and so on. So every time, I don't necessarily think like when is the best time. It's just what's the cash price versus how many points would you have to waste. And in my opinion, I will never ever waste for less, redeem points for less than a penny per point. So in a nutshell, drop 2 zeros. If it's a $400 flight and it's 20,000 points, use the points. If it's 50,000 points, save that. I mean, you can get better by getting a Best Buy gift card. So like never ever waste those points for less than a penny per point. And I aim for 3 to 5 cents per point. My record is 22, but that was like upgrading to such a crazy, first class flight that it was a price I wouldn't have paid anyway. But still, I got a $12,000 flight for like $30.
Okay.
So that's what you're saving your points for.
And you just shop around on each of the portals or whatever to do that. Okay.
There's a service out there. I can't think of it on the top of my head. I mean, if you don't enjoy this process, there are services out there that you can pay them like $150 and they will find the best point redemption for you. You can just tell them where you have all your points and they'll just tell you. It's obviously not going to be worth it for a, LA to Phoenix flight, but if you're doing international travel, it's totally worth not having that brain damage.
Yeah, I'm planning a trip to Mexico in March and then a trip to Turkey in November. So I'm trying to like plan ahead.
Right.
Well, thank you.
One last bit of advice on that. So like your Turkey, since you have plenty of time, don't look at your cards. Go to a site called awardhacker.com.
Award hacker. Okay.
And then enter your home airport, enter that destination, and they'll tell you the best credit cards to go get. Based on those credit cards transfer partners. And again, that way you're not just collecting points because, it's a $70,000 point bonus. Who cares? If that's with Delta and Delta doesn't have a hub in your home airport, you'd be better off getting 40,000 Southwest points.
But you can transfer. Oh, you can't transfer airline points, can you?
It depends. Some cards transfer to Delta and American, others transfer to United, etc. Okay. An award hacker helps with that.
I'll check it out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shauna. Christy McDonald, you're on deck, but I don't see you. So let me move on to someone who typed in a question. Sarah Maddox. Oh, I answered that. Check for multiple destinations. What avenue should I use to check for returning flights? Okay, so Sarah, this is, that's a very good question. That's probably that's like a custom itinerary travel agent question. This site is kind of dedicated to saving 60, 80, 90% on your travels. So I don't know that I would be able to really be helpful on that. I'm just going to read this out loud to make sure. Hello, I'm new to JGOOT and was wondering how to check for multiple destination flights for layover stays a couple days or more. So the big thing is just check those itineraries and check with the carrier if those could be switched to stopovers. Stopovers are typically reserved for business and first class, which in my world are only paid for with points or through upgrades after you find a cheap coach flight. But I would say the key is that's pretty easy once you get into the business and first class category, and it's typically just going to be a phone call to their customer service department once you're zeroing in on a certain flight. Let's see. Christy, Andre, Kenneth, Leslie, I see you guys on deck, but I can't see a person there. I'll chime in if I see you. While we're on the topic of point hacking, I'll answer this other question from Julia. Julia Smith asks, I read your point hacking guide, but I'm still a little trepidatious about applying for a bunch of cards? Is it worth it to just try one or two cards? How do you manage not to get overwhelmed by it all? I'm not the most organized person, and how could I see if it might become daunting very quickly? Julie, I'm going to say, read my quick start guide. It's designed for exactly that. It's designed to say, hey, here's a simple, easy way to go try this thing out. Go get a credit card, go redeem a free flight, see if you liked the process. If you liked the process, dive deeper into my comprehensive guide, and then you can ask all of those overwhelming questions. Where should I go? What should I do? How do I juggle a bunch of different cards and so on? That's irrelevant if you decide, you know what, it was too much trouble. I'd rather just pay $300 or $400 and just fly when I need to fly. It is easy to get overwhelmed. I put this off for a decade. I mean, point hacking has been around for 15 years. But I put it off until 2 years ago, and I never looked back, partly because I'm a cheapskate and I love nothing more than getting on a plane for 10 or 20 bucks when everyone else is paying over $1,000. Doesn't mean it's for everyone. There is a learning curve. You do have to do it. But my point hack, or my quick start guide, which you can find in our point hacking group, which you can find an invite to in every daily trip alert that you receive, it covers exactly that. It's like, look, let's not overthink this. Here's one card. Here's another card. Pick one depending on your needs and go for it. If you like it, then get into all of those other questions. And hopefully my earlier answer to Shauna kind of covers that as well. Because it is easy to get overwhelmed, but the hardest part is just going and trying it. So let's see. Christy, McDonald, and Andre, and Kenneth, I still don't see anyone. You know what? I'm just going to try this. Maybe your camera isn't notified or isn't on. Christy, can you hear me? Nice last name, by the way. No, not hearing you. Brooks, I do see you. Come on over and say hi.
Hey there.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So where are you calling in from? And how long have you been a JGOOT subscriber?
I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And probably a little less than a year. Been reading your, following you.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to travel, but I fell and broke my femur, so it's going to be...
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty long time before I'm able to travel, but I'm looking towards the fall, hopefully.
Okay.
So I would love to go to Barcelona or Portugal, one of those, or Italy, any of those areas.
Okay. So I think your best strategy is that if you're talking fall, that's plenty of advance notice. That's great. You're meeting rule number 1 of the JGOOT way. And I mean, for a coach seat, I wouldn't ever waste points because we send Europe trips almost daily, probably 4 or 5 times a week. And so the idea is just kind of watch those alerts every day, wait for something that's close. Sometimes, you know, and when I say close, plus or minus a month, because you can always play with those dates and you can almost always find alternate dates at that price. But the key is just watch every day. A lot of people, this is the biggest mistake I used to make. It's the biggest mistake most people make is you just don't look early enough. And, you know, I used to kind of think, oh, 90 days is that magic number. There is no magic number. 10 months before a flight, if an airline is only 7% full, they're going to dump fares so that they can get to 10%. They're going to do the same thing 6 months out. So you can never predict when these crazy cheap prices are going to happen. They're not usually like official sales that they announce. So the key is just watch every day. And I would say just get yourself to the continent, you know, somewhere on that southwest side of Europe. You've got Portugal, you've got Spain, you've got Morocco. All of those can be found from your area on an at least weekly basis. And the key is to just watch and be ready to pounce when you see it.
How important is it to do the hotel and flight, together? I mean,
how hard is that?
How important is it to do it that way?
So I'm a big believer that you're not going to find a better discount than bundling those two together. And so remember, I'm not a travel agent. We don't get commissions on these trips. We're just paid to find them and tell you about them. So it doesn't matter to me whether you book a flight or a flight plus all-inclusive or 20 passengers or one. None of that matters to us. What we're doing is telling you about the cheap flight. And here's my philosophy. So we're sending you to links on Kayak, on Travelocity, on Expedia. All of these are travel agents who are on commission. They know that if you're eyeballing a $250 fare to Portugal, the absolute best time for them to get money from you for a hotel is right then and there. Because they know that you could hang up and call Marriott or the local hotel that's offering the deal and probably get a better deal. So they're going to give away the farm so that they can make a few dollars on that hotel, because otherwise they're never going to hear from you again. So when you find the cheap flight, just kind of go over to the packages section once you narrow down on your dates and just see if there's a hotel you like. And again, you're on Travelocity, on Expedia. Once you see a hotel you like, do your research, see how many reviews they have, and then go ahead and book the flight and the hotel at the same time.
Okay. That's what I thought. Just it gets confusing when you're looking at flights and hotels and the times and how many layovers and stopovers.
Yeah. I mean that's all part of travel. You got to watch and make sure you're not going to be stuck in an airport for 7 hours. 12 hours? That might be cool. You could go see the town. We checked a new country off our list with a 23-hour layover. Saw the Great Wall of China. It was great.
Yeah, because I've seen some 14-hour layovers, and I thought, well, do you actually have time to leave the airport and go somewhere and get back in time?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how close stuff to see is, but I mean, my general rule is you need at least 8 hours, and even that is rushed. But I mean, we did a 12-hour layover once, or we intentionally did it. We took a 12-hour instead of a 2-hour layover so that we can get out of the airport and go see that country. And that was plenty of time. So yeah, I think it just depends.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for being a JGOOT subscriber.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Good.
Let's see here. Let me answer one more text question, and then anyone who's waiting in the queue, go ahead and wave to let me know you're available, and I can bring you on board and answer your question. Let's see. Marcy asks. All right, fair enough question. So here, Marcy says, is Book VIP one of my businesses? Why, even with the $100 gift card, are the hotels more money than just going direct to the hotel's website? I couldn't find any deals on there at all. So Marcy is talking about some incentives we have. Sometimes we offer them as sign-up bonuses to try our service out. Sometimes we give them as thank yous when people say a nice word about us on Facebook, etc. So no, this isn't our company. This is through an incentive company. We buy incentives for pennies on the dollar so that we can give them to our customers. And it's not Book VIP, it's Book VIP Plus. Basically, they are a travel search engine just like anyone else. Those gift cards are basically free samples that we're able to give you so you can try out what it's like to be a member of their membership service. So when we give you a $100, it's not a gift card, it's a travel savings card. That's basically $100 in savings that you can apply. Now, if you're looking at $6 or $8 a night hostels, you'll be lucky if you save $1 a night, because these savings are anywhere from 10 to 40% off of what you're going to find on competitors' sites. I vet everything that I offer as incentives, and they're all things that I've used myself, or I endorse or believe in, or have heavily researched. Does it take a little bit? Does it take a little bit of digging? Sure. Everything we do takes a little bit of digging. That's what you have to do if you want to spend 5, 10, 15 cents on the dollar. So the gift card, sometimes you won't see significant savings. The real savings you see is on the more expensive excursions. I took my daughter on a daddy-daughter dive trip. Our whole family is scuba certified, and we found $47 flights to Cabo. We paid nothing for our all-inclusive hotel by using points, or I should say by using our backup plan, because I didn't like the prices of all-inclusives. And I used that gift card from Book VIP Plus towards, I don't know, a $400 whale shark, snorkeling with whale shark excursion. It was like $400 and we knocked 250 off. So you do have to hunt and peck. It's typically the higher end resorts where you are spending more, and you'll see 30 and 40% discounts. But I have vetted those. That exact same excursion I could have bought on Travelocity for $400. I found it on Book VIP Plus for $400, but I applied my gift card and it ended up being like $260. Hopefully that answers your question. Anybody that's watching, wonder if they didn't get a gift card, we do have incentives for signing up. We have incentives for spreading the word about JGOOT. Feel free to reply to any email you receive if you'd like to find out how to get one for yourself. Ty, I see you on camera. I'm going to pull you up. Let's see what your travel challenges are. See if I can help. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you calling in from?
California.
Cool. I grew up in LA and went to school up north in Humboldt. So.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I'm from LA too.
Cool. How can I help you?
No, actually, just want to go online and listen to what your advice and those stuff is. But I have a lot of trips coming up already booked, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay. Any of them JGOOT fairs you want to tell us about? Or are you still waiting for that right one?
I think I booked last year. I booked a trip to Maldives through JGOOT, but somehow it didn't go through, so I had to cancel. But I was looking. I'm still looking for it.
Okay.
Another trip somewhere in the Indian Ocean.
Cool. Well, we try to keep a good variety of trips that we share, and we try to make sure that they're at least 50% off, hopefully closer to 80 or 90% off when we share them. So just open those trip alerts every day, and when you find something, tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was nice about it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for chiming in. We'll look forward to hearing from you if you ever have any questions. Anyone on this call, we're always just an email away if you have questions. We've got FAQ section. I try to contribute on the blog as much as I can. I've got YouTube channels for people who don't like to read. So, and you can find all that information in your daily trip alerts. So thanks, Ty.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. All right, Leslie, I see you. Want to come say hi, Leslie? And then in the meantime, I'm going to look for any other written questions. I apologize. There's no way I'm going to get to all of these. Leslie, can you hear me? I can't. I can see movement, but I can't hear you. Uh-oh, you're driving. Don't want to have you driving and talking.
Yeah, that's why I said 1 second. Okay.
Hey, Leslie, I'll go ahead and let you go. Focus on your driving. We will we'll have the replay available. If you want to type in a question, I'll look for your name and try to answer it.
How often are weekends?
I didn't mean right now. You can text it after you pull over. Let's see. So Leslie started to say, how often are weekends? Let me get to another question. Sorry, guys, this is a little bit jumbled today. We'll see if we can't get a moderator to help me out next time. Michael Pawlowski. Sorry, Michael. I totally bludgeoned that. Michael Pawlowski asks, when you share discount fares, are they always multi-leg trips or are they sometimes direct? Oh, they're quite often direct flights. We don't necessarily discern whether it's a multi-leg or direct. Sometimes it might require a layover or two. We try to avoid anything more than that. But hey, sometimes if it's a $50 flight that might normally cost $400 or $500, we're going to tell our subscribers about it. But I have testimonials. You can go and watch our YouTube channel and visit the testimonial section. I've got plenty of people who have taken, direct nonstop flights to places they've been to before and paid 3 times as much. So the key, same as always, just watch those trip alerts. It's always just a click away and you can quickly look at the trip details and see if there are layovers or not. So we try to make that as convenient as possible for you. Neil, how do you gather so many points? Cover that in the point hacking guide. The short version of that is credit card companies are in fierce competition with each other to get your business and have you spending money with their credit card because they know that most people don't want to go through the hassle of switching credit cards. And once they get you, they figure they've got you for life. So how do you get so many points? You, every once in a while, if you're ever low on points, and my definition of low on points is less than 100,000 points. So if you ever have less than 100,000 frequent flyer points stashed away for an emergency use, you should go and get at least 100,000 points. And the way you do that is you sign up for a new card, you collect 50, 60, 70, 80,000 points, you buy your gas and your groceries on it, you throw it in a drawer. That's it. It's not that big a deal. It's not complicated. You don't have to juggle tons of credit cards. You just go and take advantage of sign-up bonuses that are being given away for trying out their card. Doesn't say you need to marry them. Doesn't mean a long-term commitment. You just go and you get $50,000 points for spending $1,000 or $2,000 with that credit card company, and that's a heck of a lot better than 2,000 points with your current card that's in your back pocket. Let's see. Neil says use Zoom much better. We'll see. I have a lot of people on Facebook. They've all got their quirks. I've tried them all. I'll see if they can't mix it up. Hi, Joel. I have about 500,000 points on AA and about 600 on Ameriprise. That's great. We fly AA more than any other carrier. Would it make sense to move the AMEX points to AA, another airline, or just keep them with AMEX? How to compare the point conversion math? So I know neither Chase or Amex transferred directly to AA, but they transferred to travel partners of AA. But here's the thing, my philosophy, and again, I'm just a guy. There are plenty of people who are bigger experts than me. I'm about having an emergency stash so that you never find yourself in a bind, having to go to a wedding or a destination wedding that's $1,200 because, it's specific date, specific time, and Murphy's Law says that's what happens for destination weddings. So I'm all about just having points as an emergency stash so you can do that. My recommendation to transfer, sure, transfer them if and when you need them. And look up transfer partners, transfer them from AMEX to whatever transfer partner that could get you onto an AA flight if you want an AA flight. I like being a free agent. You know, if United can get me to visit my family in Raleigh, great. I'm going to book on United, or I'm going to transfer my points to United. If it's Southwest, heck, if it's Frontier, I'll fly Frontier for a $30 flight, which I've done. We flew $30 when I was dating my wife. We flew to her hometown for $30. Everyone thought it was, you know, to make a big announcement. No, it's because we found $30 flights that normally cost $350. So hopefully, Monica, that answers your question. Leslie, it looks like you're pulled over and safe. So I'm gonna pull you up again and answer your question. Hi. Promise me you're not driving.
I'm not driving. I'm parked.
Okay. Well, I'm honored that you pulled over to ask your question. How can I help you?
I'm just big into weekend trips and trips that don't take more than 7 days because I have not that much vacation time. So I really love traveling and I love to budget. So I was just wondering like how often you post weekend trips, and if it's not from Phoenix, like maybe from LAX or California.
Mm-hmm. So it always varies. We try to make sure to publish domestic trips, which are typically, you know, domestic and Caribbean, Mexico are going to be your quick trips that are going to happen. So two things. One, we have a weekend category, and I would say it's maybe once or twice a week that something gets added to those. And we call, for clarification, we call a weekend anything between Friday and Monday. So again, rule number one, you got to be flexible if you want to save, you know, 60, 80 cents on the dollar. Sometimes that might mean a day off, even if it's a non-paid day. The amount, you know, my philosophy is the amount you save on airfare by flying Friday morning instead of Friday night is almost always going to pay for a paid day off. So two things. We have a weekend category, which you can just go to, you know, you click on any trip alert and look at the menu up top, and you can just see what recent weekend trips we found. The other thing is anything, just know that all of the dates that we send are flexible. You don't have to go on the dates that we find. Sometimes it's really easy to find alternate dates. Sometimes you have to do a little digging, but you can almost always tweak the dates and find something close. So even if we say it's a, you know, if you're in LA and we say it's a 6-day trip to Austin, and if you want to go to Austin, well, that's fine. You can click on the link. It's best to look from your computer, not your phone. We just had someone email us this morning. They couldn't find the price we found on their phone, and they went straight to it on their computer. Because on your computer, we give you this big grid of like 49 alternate dates where you can just see right there what the prices are. And then you could just quickly look and see, oh, well, gosh, this one is only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm then going to waste my time looking. But every once in a while, you'll see some, you know, and we might publish it as a 6-day trip because that's what we've found. But you can tweak it to a 3-day trip that leaves Friday morning.
Okay.
So short answer, a couple times a week. But the long answer is everything is adjustable, and you can usually tweak something to your liking.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. I appreciate
Thank you. All right. How am I doing, everyone? Any throw me some likes if these are kind of covering the questions you might have yourself. And then I'm going to scroll to the bottom, see if there's anything that I've missed that you are dying for an answer to. Maybe copy and paste your question so I can find it, because I see a lot of comments. I think I've got everyone who is waiting. Mindy, I see some motion on your camera, so I'm going to bring you up. Hi, Mindy. Can you hear me? All right. Mindy's busy. Let's see. Any other text questions? Julia, I got to. Marcy, I got to. Emma. Lots of people telling me they can hear me. Why, when I go to the website, it says the dates are old? To choose another date or it's an error. So Brandon asks, when I go to the website, the dates are out of date. So pure confession, I'm an ex-consultant who is really good at finding cheap keywords on Google. I wrote books for Google about that. I've changed to being one guy who built an algorithm to find cheap seats on planes. This is a blog that has 1/1000th of the trips out there. So we tell you about the trips, and I post them to a blog so that you don't, like if you miss a few days of email alerts, you can go and find a central place. I'll be honest, I don't have the resources to go back in history and check old fares. So the general rule is the deeper you dig, like all fares are in order of recency. So if you just go to our homepage or to your member login page, the trips up top are the most recent trips we found. The trips on the bottom are a lot older. By the time you get to the second or third page, they're probably going to be sold out, which is why rule number 1 is just check airfare every day. So Brandon, to answer your question, why when I go, it says the dates are too old. It might be something that has passed that we haven't removed or pulled as sold or marked as sold out. Typically, just check that email every day. If you're having to dig past the second page, it's probably going to be sold out, and just kind of follow that rule and know that that's okay. We'll look every day and we'll send you more tomorrow. Sorry, I wish I had a better answer, but the fact is we're not a Travelocity with billions of options. And we're dedicated to finding the cheapest 0.1% of trips out there. But it's not perfect. It's built by me and some programmers from all over the world. And we're working on an improvement, but that will always be the case. The deeper you dig, the older the trip is, the more likely it's sold out, which is why you want to check your trip alerts every day. Lots of people who can't hear. I'll have to put a note about how to turn the volume on. So sorry about that, folks. Closed and reopened. Answered that question from Michael. Thank you. Monica answered. Dahlia, good. This isn't a question, but a bit of advice. For our earlier question about Sapphire Preferred versus Sapphire Reserve. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. If anyone could go to my YouTube channel and find the video where I'm holding the Sapphire and the Reserve up and plug that link in, that would be awesome. I'll send you one of our $100 discount cards if you can do that for our group. Anyway, I've got a video on our YouTube channel. You've got a link to our YouTube channel from every daily trip alert that we send. I talk about a lot of the perks, about the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which costs $450 a year, going up to $550 a year, versus the $100 preferred card. They all have similar perks, but there are perks that make the $450 card a no-brainer. And it's actually a far better value than the $100 card. I'm not going to spend time on this webinar because we are out of time. But go to the YouTube channel, look for those point hacking. I have a category of point hacking discussions, and I have one video where I compare and contrast the Chase Sapphire Reserve versus the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I also cover that in the Quick Start Guide. But Dahlia, thank you for that comment. It is true. I resisted the temptation to get on my soapbox earlier about getting the Reserve versus the Preferred, but yeah, good point. Dahlia's point was the Reserve gives you free global entry. They reimburse you for global entry or TSA, which is a big time saver at the airport. Lynn also chimed in. Lynn, hopefully you're in our point hacking group and are sharing your expertise. Lynn says, just use one card for everything to simplify. That's fine. I mostly agree. I use one card for all of my regular charges. If and when I go and get, oh, awesome. Maddie Hart posted my video. It's in the comments section, so you guys can watch that. Thank you, Maddie. But yeah, use one card for everything else. Whenever you need to go get a sign-up card, call that your throwaway card. Use it for your gas and your groceries and everything else. Pay it off, then throw it in a drawer and forget about it, and go spend your 50,000 points on. I mean, just as motivation for this, I spent 53,000 points for myself. I spent another 53,000 points for my wife, and we took a $12,000 first class flight. A suite to Singapore. 50,000 points. It took us 10 minutes to sign up for a credit card bonus, and we took a $12,000 flight times 2. So I don't know. Anyone that says it's too much trouble, I don't know. I think it's always way less trouble than the hunting and scraping you typically do when you can't find an affordable flight otherwise. Okay, so we went down. That was a bit of a digression there. So let's see. Beethoven's birth. Okay, Beth is, long story short, in her comments, she said, because of a big event with Beethoven's birth and the 250th anniversary of his birth, Vienna and Bonn are having major events throughout the year. She will kiss my feet if I can find anything relevant. So even if we don't find Vienna or Bonn, I don't know where that is, so I don't think we find it. Here's a quick tip for anyone looking to get anywhere in Europe or anywhere in Asia or anywhere in Africa. The US is the most expensive place to travel by far. So if you can just get yourself to the continent of Europe, odds are you can find a $50, $100, $150 flight to get to wherever else you want to go. So assuming you're going for at least 7 days, watch your trip alerts for anything to Europe. If you don't have the time to watch your trip alerts daily, go to the Europe category of our trip alerts once a week and just peruse those. And anything that's remotely close to where you want to go, see if that flight works for you. Get yourself there for $200 or $300 or $400, and then book a commuter flight for $50 or $100. One of our subscribers, Daniel Stresky, one of these days I'll get him to come on camera and share his stories. He's lost count of the countries he's been to from JGOOT fairs, but he does that all the time. He flies. He wanted to go to Morocco, but he found a cheap trip to Portugal. He took a $12 ferry to Morocco. So for anyone who wants to get, has a bucket list destination of a specific place, sure, we might eventually find a great deal to that place. But if you don't have enough patience for that, watch for other places that are close to there. We just had to do that several months ago. We had to fly in. We flew into Singapore and then commuted into Bali for like $39. So hopefully that answers your question. And Beth, you don't even have to kiss my feet. Testimonial would be great. Regina, going to Hawaii for a cruise that leaves May 7th. In my experience, what's the average price for one way? Hawaii that leaves May 7th. Okay. Average price to Hawaii is like $1,200 or $1,500 from almost anywhere in the United States except the West Coast. The average price we publish is $200 to $400 range, depending mostly on how far east or west you are in the country. However, you have one variable that completely negates that, May 7th. So you have a very specific deadline. And that's where our triangle of light comes in. The more flexible you can be, the better a deal you can get with the trips we publish. The less flexible you are, the more likely you're going to need to rely on a backup stash of frequent flyer points. Because I don't even need to look up fares. May 7th, you're probably staring at a good deal being $800 and more likely $1,200 to $1,500 to go to Hawaii. Would love to have someone chime in with what that fare costs from their hometown. However, if you have a backup plan, you look, you watch for fares, and once you get inside of 2 or 3 months, you just plan on using points, because points are way, way, way easier to earn than dollars when you follow the steps in the quick start guide. So is our site gonna, Regina, is our site gonna help you for a one-way flight to Hawaii? Absolutely. You can customize any trip we send however you like. You can change the dates. Well, within reason, you can usually change the dates. You can change it to one-way. You can add passengers. You can subtract passengers, etc. However, the second you tie yourself down to a specific date, the odds of our site helping you diminish, and you're probably going to have to rely on frequent flyer points. Mindy, I see some movement. If you're hearing me, wave and I can bring you on. Otherwise, I'll just assume you forgot about me. Kim Michael had a rough holiday with only one card. It got blocked for an unauthorized use. Someone tried to use my card. I had to wait and sent a new one to France. 3 days wasted. Yeah, that's happened to us too. Traveling and credit cards, you sometimes get freezed. And my best recommendation is have not two different credit cards, because if Chase freezes your cards, all of your Chase cards are frozen. But it's a good idea to have 2 different companies of credit cards for that reason, because when you travel, sometimes that happens. And also have your credit card company's number on speed dial. But yeah, thanks for sharing. Sometimes, you know, the best thing we can do is share our experiences to prevent them in the future. Regina, leaving from Minneapolis. Yeah, so Minneapolis for sure. I bet you'll be lucky if you find less than $1,000 round trip. But points will save you. Let's see, Michael got to that question. Where do I find the, Kim Michelle asks, where do I find the quick start guide? We have a whole point hacking discussion group. It's a part of your membership. You can find the invite code at the bottom of your every daily trip alert. You do need a password, so use that, otherwise you will be declined. But we've got a whole resource section of resources in there. And by the way, for the sake of this recording, we are going to record this, so that's not always going to be a part of your membership. We may be pulling that and selling it separately in the near future. But all members right now, you're grandfathered in. It's for part of your membership. Okay, Amy, I just did a video yesterday on this. It's a common problem. I wish I could screen share and show you, but I'll talk through it verbally. Amy Stratton Kitts asks, I'm doing my best to locate these cheap deals, but keep striking out. Wrong home airport, wrong dates, etc. So wrong home airport, if we send from the same home airport every day. So if you're getting the wrong home airport, just reply to us and tell us to switch your airports, and you should be fine. By the way, sometimes Denver gets added. Denver is the area I started this territory first. And again, built by a human, me, and sometimes I mess things up. And if you ever get added to Denver, just scroll to the bottom and just click the unsubscribe button. That's usually what happens when you get added to the wrong airport. Apologies for that, but otherwise you can just reply and we'll get you straightened out. As far as wrong dates, well, so our whole philosophy is if you want to consistently save 60, 80, 90 cents on the dollar. My track record for 2019, by the way, was we spent 8 cents on the dollar for our travels. You have to be flexible. So the wrong dates is probably a matter of, yeah, I mean, we're going to tell you about the cheap flights that you can get by traveling on certain dates. We do our best to add commentary. It's the first thing we mention in every trip alert of this is really easy to change dates or this is really tough to change dates, so that you don't waste too much time when it's not possible to find alternate dates. But most times you can play with the dates and hopefully find something that works. And if you don't, know that we'll find more deals the next day. So, but to answer Amy's question, I keep doing my best to locate these cheap deals. 9 times out of 10, when someone says they can't find the deal, it's probably because they were on their mobile phone, which is very, very, very slow. Or they didn't wait, even on their computer, they didn't wait long enough for all of the trips to show up. When Kayak does this, we're sending you to Kayak because I like Kayak the best. And when they do this, they're querying, they're making tens of thousands of queries, and it can take a minute or longer for the cheapest prices to show up. So if you're not finding them, we click on the link in your trip alert that has a video covering how to find the deals. Because 9 times out of 10, when someone says they can't find it, it's usually there, but it didn't, it got missorted because Kayak wants to sell you a more expensive trip, or it didn't load or whatever. I've got videos covering that, and you can find a link in your trip alerts to watch that video. And the most recent blog post has a video covering that as well. So go to jgoot.com. Here, I'll type it in for you. jgoot.com or just getoutoftown.com/blog. You can read all the tips I've ever given on how to travel for super cheap. Just get out. Oh, Brooke is online. Brooke is a kindergarten teacher on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and she is the best support person I've ever had in my life. She travels the JGOOT way herself. She's taken, 21 trips, Brooke? And I just see that she's chiming in and adding links and resources for people during her lunch break while she's teaching kindergarten. Thank you, Brooke. I love you. You're awesome. Let's see. Kim, Michelle, are there tour companies that I would recommend? I don't get into tour companies at all. My focus is get you the cheapest flight possible to the cheapest destinations possible so that you're traveling more. So I wouldn't even begin to waste your time. We've used a couple, but if people want resources like that, maybe we could bring people on who have been to certain countries and talk about that. Chime in, add a like. Let me know if that's something that you would value, and we can have future discussions like that. But yeah, tours, I couldn't even begin to tell you how to find the best one other than TripAdvisor, and they've got great reviews. Best way to get to Maui in the summer. Hopefully I've beaten this to death, but just in case not, good for you for asking that question right now, because summer is 6 to 9 months away. And that's still early enough to start watching. Just watch your trip alerts every day. Same philosophy, get yourself to the islands. So we might share a flight to Kona. We've gone to Hawaii and we've grabbed dirt cheap flights to Maui and then paid 30 or 40 bucks to fly to Kauai because that's where we wanted to go. So one, watch your trip alerts every day. When you see something that's close to what you're looking for, know that you can adjust the dates. You can usually adjust the dates and hopefully find something that works for you. 3, just get yourself to the islands and grab a commuter flight. Do those 3 things and you'll be able to go to Maui from almost anywhere in the country for well under $500, even in the summer, even over Christmas break. If you want extra credit, go and get frequent flyer points. My wife and I have both flown to Hawaii in $1,326 seats for $22 from 1 credit card sign-up bonus. I cover that all in the quick start guide. I cover that all in the comprehensive guide, as well as a couple webinars in the Facebook discussion group. I think we're about to wrap this up, guys. We went a little over my hour, but let me just answer these last couple questions. And it's just 1. No, 2. Maddie Hart. Maddie is who shared our link. Thanks again, Maddie. Send us a reminder and I'll send you a $100 travel discount card. Maddie says, I've heard in the past that if you check every day, there are systems in place to increase prices once sites you see are searching. Do you use hidden search modes or is this a myth? We don't use hidden search modes, but the search engines definitely do. I myself, and what happens is the big search engines like TripAdvisor, Travelocity, Kayak, Expedia, all of them do it. I think the airlines even do it. And they have something called cookies. They plant those on your computer, and when they see that you are in research mode, when they see that you're going and you're checking, and then you're going back and you're checking, you're going back and you're checking, they will falsely raise the price to make you think the prices are going up. So the way around that is to use private browsing mode or incognito mode. You can usually right-click a link and open a separate browser that won't allow them to do that. Or the other thing is, what we often do, and I do this every time I book a trip on, that's not using points. I will always go, and when I'm ready to book the trip, I will go open that exact and look for that exact trip on a separate browser. And I've saved as much as $450 on 2 tickets. So they falsely raised the price, $450 on us, to make us think that prices were going up. So we hurried up and bought. So yes, Maddie, there is legitimacy to that rumor, and the way around it is to use incognito mode in Chrome, private browsing in Safari, whatever other version in Explorer, or just switch browsers when you're ready to book your trip. Never hurts to just quickly do that to make sure that they didn't falsely raise prices on you. That includes, if we send you a trip and you find it at first and don't find it later, go back, refresh your browser, and hopefully you can see it. I see one last question. Mike says, thank you for doing the seminar, very informative. Mike, thank you for attending. Let us know if we can do anything else for you. Ver or Ver, I apologize if I messed that up. Well, I did mess it up because I said it twice and I don't know which way is right. But Ver asked one last question. Kenneth, I see that you're still on. If you want to talk, show your face and wave. Otherwise, I'll just assume you're listening in. So Ver is the last question. Haven't even read it yet. I'm thinking of going to Manila, Philippines, but I don't see any deals for this place. Is there a timing or window when we can see those kinds of deals? I don't want to buy airfare or package until I hear from you or from your website. Please advise. Okay, so a few moving parts to this. We do find Philippines all the time. I can't ever promise if it's going to be Manila or Cebu. I think there's another major airport there too that I'm not thinking of. We do publish them. Look early, look often, but just open that email every day. You will eventually come across something. I don't know your time frame. We'll come back to that. So watch every day. We do find Philippines quite regularly. Also watch for other close airports. Tokyo, Beijing, anything kind of in that northeast section. If you can get yourself to the continent in general, you can usually grab a quick commuter flight. But you should, if it's early enough, you should be able to find something to Manila. My general rule is once you get inside of 90 days, that's when you need to start getting more creative. That's where you kind of look for the get yourself to the continent strategy. And hopefully, if nothing else, if you don't take anything else from this seminar, please go and establish a backup plan. Points are 100 times easier to earn than dollars. And sometimes, depending on where you need to go and when you need to go, cheap flights just don't exist because airlines have pretty good algorithms to extract as much money out of you as possible. We try to exploit the little loopholes when they messed up and they have to give some seats away, and we share those with you, but there's never a guarantee that you're going to get to the specific place you want to go at the specific time, which is why I always say, just go and get points. If you don't have 100,000 frequent flyer points, whether you're planning a trip or not, if you don't have 100,000 frequent flyer points, you should just go get them, because there will come a time where you need to go somewhere and you can't find a cheap flight. And I know a lot of tricks, but we won't be able to help you. So Ver confirmed it's October. Great, you got plenty of time. Watch those trip alerts every day. I'm sure you will find something in the under $500 or $600 range, as long as you are patient and persistent. But don't let that stop you from going and getting points, because there's nothing like flying to Asia for 50 or $100. And sometimes you can even do it for 50 or 100 and go in business class when you do it with points. So I think that that is almost a great point. One last question that I think will be a good one to wrap up. Heidi asks, why can't I book during Christmas of 2020? You can book on Christmas of 2020. We just haven't found any deals yet. So typically, the earliest we start seeing these deals are about 10 months out. And I think this will be a perfect way to wrap up. So everyone, let me know what you think. Let me know how often you might like to have more things like this. Throw out some topics that we can talk about. Sometimes I get tired of hearing myself talk, and if you want to get some people who've been to Asia, we can get a bunch of people and share stories. Let me know. Otherwise, throw me some likes, throw me some love, and we'll do this again. But I'll close this out with Heidi asking, why can't I book during Christmas of 2020? Most of the deals we find, we start seeing as early as 10 months out, and that's only 10 or 20% of the time. So keep watching, get in the habit. You can set your watch by our daily trip alerts. You get at the same time every day. Set 60 seconds aside, take a look at those alerts, whether you're planning a trip or not. And I would say that for Heidi, you will start seeing Christmas trips as early as next month, certainly by the time we hit March. But you never know, you might see something else that is a good enough deal to just grab and take a trip you weren't planning on. So everyone, I really appreciate you joining. I appreciate your business. If there's anything else we can do, reply to any email, add any comment here, and we will talk to you later. Happy travels.